Good morning, everyone. Hope you had a great weekend. I just realized that my little image here is missing our logos. I don't know what happened to that. I'll have to check that out. But anyways, we have Paul with Tried and True Home Loans, and he's just going to give us an update in mortgage land, and then we will roll into Client Giant and what it is. And go ahead and take it away, Paul.
Okay, great. Thank you. Well, good morning, everybody. Tried and True Home Loans is owned by Rise Realty, just so guys know. So we all work together. Today, I want to talk about something really quick. I want to share some information, which I get quite a bit of phone calls. What's going on? Fannie, Freddie, things like that, conventional loans. So hang on one second. Share my screen. Give me one second. Just slideshow. Okay. So Fannie and Freddie Mac. So Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are U.S. government-sponsored enterprises that play a major role in our housing finance system. Their primary function is to increase the availability and affordability of mortgage credit across the country. You got to remember, this all started many years ago when rates were substantially a lot higher. So here's the breakdown of what they are and how they work. So 1983, during the Great Depression, it was created, and now it's Fannie Mae. The purpose is to provide liquidity to the mortgage market by buying mortgages from lenders like banks, which allow the lender to issue more home loans. Operation, they buy mortgages from the lender, they bundle them into mortgage-backed securities and sell them to the investors. Focus, they work mainly with larger retail banks. Freddie Mac was created in 1970 to further expand the secondary mortgage market. Purpose is similar to Fannie Mae. They buy mortgages and turn them into MBS for sale to investors to issue more home loans. Operation, they mainly help smaller banks and lenders by buying their mortgages. Community banks and credit unions. They work with more smaller banks and flats. Okay, why do they matter? They don't originate mortgages themselves, but they buy them from lenders, providing liquidity and stability in our market conditions. They put them together, the mortgages, turn them into investment. They attract capital to the housing market. They help lower interest rates. Again, you got to remember, this all started a long time ago. Okay, so they help lower interest rates and they make home loans more accessible for borrowers. So here are some of the features. Fannie Mae, they found them in 1938. Freddie Mac, they found them in 1970. They both were created by sorry, everybody. It was created by the U.S. government. The whole purpose is to increase liquidity in the mortgage market. Freddie Mac helped by expand secondary mortgage market. Main partner, Fannie Mae, larger commercial banks. Um, Freddie Mac is smaller banks and credit unions. The role, they buy mortgages and they put them together and they sell them. They're both, government sponsored. Current status. Okay. Right now, they are under federal conservatorship since 2008, or last market crash. Um, so here's a simple analogy. Imagine you're running a lemonade stand, but you don't have enough money to keep buying lemons. Local lenders, banks, they're like kids who sell lemonade. So you got Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are like big lemonade investors who came by, buy pitchers of lemonade, mortgages, give the kids more money, and then repackage the lemon into bottles, which is MBS. They sell them to the stores, investors. This way, the kids, the banks, can keep making and selling lemonade and loans without running out of money. Okay, this is less than 2 minutes. I'm going to play this video. This is the perfect example of what's going on in today's market.
Not sure if we got sound on that, Paul.
Hi there, I'm Matt Ishbia,
Okay,
President
there you go.
CEO of UWM, and this is 3 points. First point, will the GSEs end conservatorship? So a lot of people are talking about, will Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac go back to being private companies? They're government-sponsored enterprises right now, and they've been under conservatorship since 2008, September of 2008 to be exact. Now, Director of FHFA, Bill Pulte, is the one actually in charge of this decision. Obviously, he works with President Trump and all the people involved with it. Now, what is the best path? The truth is this. If interest rates go up because of this change, I don't think they're going to do it. And it's like Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are acting pretty good right now. It's been working pretty well. Spits off a lot of cash to the government, and things are going pretty well. So, is it a main focus? I don't know if it really is, or whether it should be. Now, if rates go up because of this change, or this change happens and rates go up, that would be bad for everyone. And I think President Trump has been out there, and Bill Pulte's been out there saying they want rates to go down. So that's a big thing that everyone's going to be thinking about and talking about. Now, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac competing and innovating and doing different things with new leadership from Director Pulte is a big deal. And we're already going to see some of those positive things happening right now. And so Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac acting more private but still being in conservatorship might be the best of both worlds. We'll see what happens. But either way, if rates go up because of it, that's a negative. And I don't think that's going to happen. I think Mr. Pulte, along with Mr. Trump, President Trump, are focused on making sure that those things don't happen and that rates stay low and affordability is positive for consumers.
So if you all don't know him, that's Matt Ishbia. He's the owner of UWM, which is Rocket Mortgage's main competitor. They're, you know, back and forth between the when well he's the largest wholesale only mortgage lender in the United States. They're ginormous. So he's got a lot of industry knowledge, and he does these little 2-minute clips, kind of Monday through Friday. High energy guy, knows a lot about what's going on in the market. So it's good to see, some insight from him on, what this talk is about Fannie Freddie and how it might affect us in the industry, with our clients and their purchasing power and all of that we're going to be dealing with.
Um, just real quick, and I'm going to end it. So basically, the summary right now, Fannie and Freddie are performing well. They're generating cash for the government and supporting the market. Basically, if the government ends it, that leads to higher interest rate. It's not going to be a good move. However, the key thing is ensuring rates to stay low and affordability remains strong for our consumers. So basically, there's been a lot of communication whether Fannie and Freddie is going to go back to being private or not. And everybody is very concerned that if Fannie and Freddie go back to being private, that the interest rates are going to go up. If you can remember in history, overall rates were always like in the sixes and sevens when Fannie and Freddie were private. However, you got to remember back in the old days, rates were a lot higher than that. So the government is trying to make things work. Like, okay, if we send this back to private, is it going to create higher interest rate? Because when the government is controlling Fannie and Freddie, they're pumping in cash. Right now, they're not pumping in as much cash because they're trying to regulate everything. So we're not really sure how everything's going to work out. All we know one thing is Washington, D.C. is fully aware that they understand how bad it would be if rates were to continue to go up either way. So they are working on that. And I just wanted to point out what Fannie and Freddie is all about. Just remember, last but not least, Fannie and Freddie is completely separate than FHA and VA. Fannie and Freddie are mainly um, uh, conventional loans. And if you have any more questions, if you have things that you want to talk about, feel free to reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to tell you and explain further. Thank you so much for your time.
All right, thanks a lot. So it's good to keep up with the rates. We've been bouncing around very high sixes and right about 7 for the past several weeks, I'd say. So it looks like, we had some improvement last week and then we lost a little bit towards the end of the week with the jobs report. But nonetheless, we keep trucking on. So, all right. So next up, we have Client Giant and good morning. How are you doing? Hopefully you had a good weekend.
Good morning. Yeah, things are good. I just had my first kid over Memorial Day weekend,
Oh,
so
wow.
acclimating.
Yeah. So you're just in a constant state of being tired. So,
Yeah, pretty much. My job's a
so
lot easier than my wife's though, so I have
yeah.
no excuses.
Yeah, it's the lack of sleep, you know. I
Yep.
mean, it wears on you. You get used to it though. I mean, all my kids are, I mean, my youngest is turning 21 next month
Oh,
actually.
wow.
So I've
Awesome.
been out of that realm for a little while, but I remember it well and just constant state of exhaustion.
Yeah.
So all
Cool.
right. So tell us about your company, what you do, and how it can benefit our team here.
Yeah, thanks for having us. We really appreciate it. Just so I know what's kind of the earmark on time that I have.
We usually run about an hour total.
Okay, cool.
So I
Yeah,
think it sounded like this was going to fit right in there.
yeah, perfect. I will go ahead and share my screen.
So just touch.
All right. Can everyone see this? This is Client
Yep.
Giant.
Yep.
Cool. Yeah, so thanks for having us. I'm just going to kind of quickly go over a brief history of what it is we do, why we do it, how agents use us, and Trisha's here to moderate the chat. So if you guys have questions along the way, throw them in there, and then I'll get to questions at the end as well. So brief history. So I actually am a real estate agent. I don't practice it all anymore, but I was a full-time agent for the better part of a decade. So I started in 2011. In 2014, I did something that completely changed my business, and I'm going to go into that exact philosophy. Subsequently, because of those efforts, I was awarded the National Association of Realtors 30 Under 30 in 2015 and asked to speak kind of at conferences all over the country, all over the world, as far as South Africa and Toronto and all the states in the U.S. and basically just saying, here's the playbook, here's exactly what to do. And lo and behold, most people, while they took notes and wanted to do it, didn't do it. So we created a company called Client Giant that automates thoughtfulness. That's what we say, where you look like the most thoughtful person on earth, but you don't have to do anything and you get insane repeat and referral business. So I'm going to go over exactly all of that. 2018, we were awarded most innovative with Inman. As you're going to see from everything I go over, it's really nothing innovative about what we do. It's just the golden rule on steroids. And then now, subsequently, 2025, we're running in all 50 states in Canada, where we run actually globally with a lot of B2B partners, and we're the exclusive gifting partner for Tom Ferry International. So this is actually the talk that I gave in 2018 called Delivering 7-Star Service in a 3-Star Industry. If anyone's interested in that, you can Google it, check it out. There's a few Inman talks there that should be helpful. But this is one thing I want to focus on, one of the most alarming stats ever. This is a real statistic with the National Association of Realtors, and that's that 88% of your buyers that you help purchase a home say that they would hire you when it's time to sell, but only 12% of them actually do. So that's an enormous delta and something that we need to fix as an industry. So you may recognize some of these faces here. These are some of the titans of real estate. There's some of the biggest players in the country. They have one thing in common. They systemize everything. I'm sure as a real estate agent, you've heard that a zillion times with CRMs and whatever, but whatever it is that you do as a part of your business, it's important to create systems. So when it comes to client care and relationships, no reason for that to be treated any differently. So today I'm going to go over 4 quick important things for us to know. Number 1, identifying what is your favorite source of business. 2, what makes the biggest impact with your clients, why these 2 things are aligned, and how specifically you can deliver it. So if nothing else, I hope everyone can leave here today with real tactical knowledge, and nothing here is theoretical or ethereal or like guess at what to do. I'm going to tell you very specifically what to do. So first and foremost, what's your favorite source of business? There's a lot of sources of business, right? We have open houses that we host on the weekends, internet leads we chase down, social media engagement, maybe it's postcards, just listed, just sold, email marketing. There's a million things. But one of the biggest ones is referrals, right? Red hot referrals from someone who just already knows you, likes you, trusts you, sends them to you. That hands down, as a real estate agent, is our favorite source of business ever. And unless you build an engine around this one, generating referrals, you'll be doing these first 5 on repeat forever. If you think about it, all 5 of those first ones all funnel up to acquisition, getting the client. And unless you build a system around clients coming to you, you'll be doing those first 5 on repeat forever. So why is it that referrals are our favorite source of business? Number one, they're yours to lose. If Trisha says, hey, my aunt wants to sell her house, call Jay, that's mine to lose. I basically just need to figure out communicating exactly why and what I do, send the listing agreement and be done. If I lose that, that's 1 zillion% my fault. There's built-in forgiveness, less likely to be challenged at every turn on your advice, grinded down on commissions, etc. And that's actually ultimately what makes those interactions more enjoyable. You probably have a better relationship with referrals than you do with someone who called you off of a postcard or found your name on a sign and started asking you a zillion questions. So what do people expect from their real estate agent? Now, when I mentioned in 2014, I'd kind of changed things to flip the business upside down. From 2011 to 2014, things were going well, but in 2014, I did a bit of a self-audit on my business. And what I did was I went to Zillow and I looked up all of my 5-star reviews. And I was like, what are people saying? I want to see if my business is going to be defensible in the next 10, 20, 30 years, right? What makes me different in such a saturated market? And as I was combing through these, it's no secret that these are 5 stars. I've asked everyone if they could do a 5-star review. So it'd be really awkward if they did a 3-star review. So that's not the important part. The important part is, what are they saying about me? So they'd say things like, Jay had, ton of experience. He was super on time, dependable, trustworthy, detail oriented. We got the home of our dreams, blah, 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 blah. Well, in my market in Orange County, there's like tens of thousands of licensed real estate agents just in the nearby like 10-mile radius. So is it conceivable that other agents could check every single one of these boxes? Yes, which is why real estate agents have become almost commoditized. It's like it's hard to even demonstrate our value. People are like, can you show me this house? That's your value. Can you unlock this door? That's your value. That's not our value, right? But unless we make an impact, we'll never really have an opportunity to tell that story. So instead, this kind of illustrated an enormous white space to me. I'm thinking, okay, there's 12% of people who are going to come back as referrals. I'm getting 5-star reviews commended for being on time. That doesn't even make sense. I mean, we do this as a society. You get in an Uber and you show up someplace alive, you give them 5 stars. But that doesn't make any sense. Like 5 stars should be A plus 100%, could not be better. And so essentially these reviews have become kind of meaningless. So what we've identified, if you can remember the Maya Angelou quote, people will forget what you said, they'll forget what you did, but they'll never forget the way you made them feel. We believe that making someone feel a certain way is ultimately your biggest competitive advantage as a real estate agent, right? Just like a lender, you can talk about rates, you can talk about this, you can talk about that. At the end of the day, how are you making people feel that's leaving an impact? Which is why what drives you, referrals, and what impacts your clients, the way you make them feel, they are in fact perfectly aligned. So if those of you are familiar with the law of human reciprocity, when someone makes us feel special, we want to give that feeling back to them, right? If someone's ever done something incredibly nice for you, I don't know if you've ever been like in a drive-through and you get to the front and they're like, oh, that person in front paid for your meal or whatever, or just some random surprise from somebody. Someone even opens the door for you and waits an exorbitant amount of time for you to get out your car and go in the coffee house, whatever it is. You feel like I need to do something back. I need to balance this, right? That is why when you make someone feel incredible, they just can't help it but want to reciprocate in some sort of way. And in the world of real estate, that very often translates to a referral. And I'll get into exactly how that works. So this is a graph showing exactly why these two things are perfectly aligned. So rewind back to 2014 when I did this exercise. I was 100% getting referrals. I'm sure most of us on here live and die by referrals. Maybe some of us on this call actually run a 100% referral driven business. But I would imagine that most of them are passive referrals. Okay, so what a passive referral is Travis helped me buy a house, right? Trisha's looking to sell her house. Like, oh, hey, if you're looking for somebody, you should use Travis. He was great. And she's like, oh, yeah, cool. Like, we're actually meeting with this guy, Mark, next Saturday. Okay, cool. Well, if it doesn't work with Mark, let me know. I'll intro you to Travis. That's a passive referral, right? Like, that's pretty much my recommendation has died. Like, I did my job. She's already taken care of. Why would I push any harder on that? It's over, right? That's a passive referral. And we get a lot of business from passive referrals. But what do you do when you can change a passive referral into a passionate referral? The same way that we demand you go see this movie or you go to this restaurant or you go to this resort. Like when we get excited, we're like, oh my God, how have you not seen The Studio on Apple Plus? It is freaking hilarious. You need to go watch it, right? Why do we do that? Because we selfishly get fulfillment and joy when people experience what we have recommended to them, right? So I can't see anyone here. Usually I can. I'd like to know who knows what movie this is, and who has seen this movie in the audience. Um, since we don't have that interaction, I'm going to actually ask a different question. I'm curious how many people have not seen this movie. And I think there's like 50 people in here. So if you
Yeah.
if
That's why we
you
keep the cameras off and stuff. It just becomes like,
yeah,
okay,
no
that becomes a
worries, no
lot.
worries.
But we can do raise hands and we can do all that and hit the
No,
chat. So,
no worries.
yeah.
So let's rewind. Okay, so this movie, if provided you've seen this movie, if somebody super, super close to you told you they've never seen this movie, your initial reaction is probably like switching into high gear. Like, dude, how have you not seen one of the greatest films of all time? You've never seen Shawshank Redemption before, and you probably are gonna hound them to go watch it. And then once they do watch it, you're gonna ask them a million questions about, oh my God, how good was it? What was your favorite part? What did you think of the end and all this stuff? And again, why do we do that? We do that because we want people to experience what we have. We do it with everything. So why is this any different? Why is your real estate business different? There's no reason why your real estate business can't be treated like Shawshank Redemption, where people are shouting from the rooftops of Travis is the guy, right? So the way that works is now when Trisha goes, oh yeah, I'm selling my house. I go, oh, you should work with Travis. And she goes, oh, we're working with this person, Mark, next week. I'm like, trust me when I say cancel that meeting. You have no idea what you're in for when you work with Travis. Like he's going to pull out the red carpet for you. We had the most incredible experience ever. And now I'm advocating for him. There's nothing in it for me at all, other than I want Trisha to experience what I have. So I'm going to get into exact specifics as to why. So first and foremost, this is very important. Adopt a consumer mindset versus a business owner mindset. What do I mean by that? As business owners, we cannot help but get in our own way with everything. It's like my logo on this, my face on this, brand on this, number one agent in your town, all this crap that no one cares about but us. As a consumer, we would not be receptive to this kind of thing. It doesn't really make sense. Like as a consumer, we would never, and I mean never, be receptive to receiving a gift that looks like this. Never, right? Never have you received a gift in your life and thought, this is really cool, but it would be way cooler if someone else's name was on it. That's never happened, right? So if we're trying to make an impact and make people feel a certain way, we have to get out of our own way. We have to think, would I be receptive to this as a human? And if the answer is no, don't do it. So I've spoken all over the place, and I can't tell you how many times people are like, I do stuff like this. I'm okay. What do you do? They're like, oh yeah, we do like Popeyes. We do like market updates. We do newsletters. We do all this stuff. This this is not doing what I'm about to talk about. Okay. This is marketing, and there's nothing wrong with marketing, but just recognize what lives in a marketing bucket versus what lives in a hospitality bucket. So what I'm talking about is introducing a hospitality bucket to your brand, doing things that are helpful, thoughtful, remarkable, things that stand out, things that break patterns, things that no real estate agent out there is doing. And I'm going to go into exactly the cadence as to how and why this works. If anyone has ever read the book Unreasonable Hospitality, if you haven't, I highly recommend it. It's by Will Guidara. It will change your life and the way you think about hospitality in your real estate business. Okay. So these things happen before, during, and after the transaction. This is not closing gift stuff. Now, closing gifts are a huge hot topic in real estate. We don't believe in them. We think that they're kind of silly. And here's why. One, it very quickly quantifies a human relationship, right? It's like the closing's done, and you're like, hey, thanks so much for your trust. Here, I appreciate you so much. Here's exactly how much I appreciate you, right? This bottle of wine or this Lowe's gift card or whatever it is. Nowadays, these people can do basic math. They're like, I know what Travis got paid and I know how much this is. Got it. Loud and clear how much I'm appreciated, right? There's ways in which you can make an impact that go far beyond that. And in some cases are even more cost effective. So that's one thing. And the other thing is that it solidifies the end of a relationship. So remember that stat, the 12%. This is the only industry where we refer to someone we've done a deal with as a past client, right? They're only in the past because we left them in the past, right? Like they shouldn't, they're just clients and we should be taking care of the clients at all times. So in 2014, what I did is I mapped out the customer journey. Now, we worked with buyers, sellers, investors a million times. You've done these transactions a ton. You know patterns. You know the times that are super exciting for a buyer or the times that are super stressful for a seller. And you can actually touch on each one of those milestones to cater to this white glove Ritz-Carlton-esque experience. Okay. So this is kind of what I mapped out in 2014. So feel free to take pictures, screenshots. I know this is being recorded and run with it, but I'll kind of show you how Client Giant fits into this now. Before the transaction, whether it's a buyer or seller or investor, something that kickstarts that off and sets the tone of the relationship, right? For a buyer, I know we're going to be looking at houses. I know they're going to be on their phones all the time looking at properties. I know they're going to need to take notes because they're going to forget which property had the view and which one didn't. I know they're going to measure. So I just send a house hunting toolkit just right out of the gate. Hey, I'm so excited to be working with you as a client. And I'm so excited to start this journey with you. That's different. People don't do that. It sets the tone. Same thing with on the listing side. When that deal actually does go under contract, something fun, something to lighten the mood, like a stress relief kit. We do a head scalp massager, stress relief tea, Advil, and this little notepad that says things for my agent to worry about. We're like, hey, during this time, you might get a little anxious, things might get a little tough. For us, it's our burden to bear. Please let us take all the stress off your shoulders during this time. Moving supplies. This is one of the most annoying purchases for a buyer to make, right? You got to go to U-Haul or Home Depot or whatever and buy moving boxes, packing tape, load your car. Just send this to their house. Just send it all there and say, here's stuff to help with the move. One less thing for you to worry about. And this happens during escrow, right? And if this buyer is getting a loan, once that loan is approved, why not celebrate that milestone as opposed to waiting for the closing? Like a gourmet gift box or something. Congratulations, the hard part's over. Contingencies have been lifted. Sit back, relax, enjoy this while we take care of the rest. Help with forwarding of address and transfer of utilities. Again, all things that need to be done. And then when that transaction does close, just a heartfelt, handwritten gratitude card. That's it. Thanking them for their trust, saying how much you actually appreciate them. And then this is where the real magic starts. Post close, most agents have left the building and never been seen again. So hit them when they least expect it. So maybe a week or two later, they get like a movie night in experience where it's old fashioned theater snacks and credit to purchase or rent a movie at home, popcorn. It's like, hey, you're now in your new place. Sit back, relax, enjoy this. Maybe it's a gift tailored to their interest. Maybe during the transaction, you learn their favorite band was Led Zeppelin, and we send them a greatest hits vinyl record and a record player to celebrate. And then professional services. So one of the things I used to do all the time as an agent was I knew when the moving date was. So if this last weekend they moved in, I would send a mobile car wash detailing service to their home or office and say, hey, if you're anything like me, you've probably filled your car to the brim during the move and it's probably thrashed. Here's a professional cleaning on me. We do this also for the home weeks after the move in. You know, everything's been put away, the furniture's there. You could probably use a deep clean on the house. And my personal favorite, this is something I did with every single client back in 2014. I would send them to a 5-star dinner with round trip transportation. So I worked with a local restaurant here. They would actually work in conjunction with my assistant. They would call my client and they'd say, hey, we wanted to congratulate you on behalf of Jay O'Brien on the sale or purchase of your home. He wants to send you to dinner with your husband, your wife, whoever. Round trip transportation will be provided. When would you like to come in? They would get picked up. They would get wined and dined. They'd never see a bill. And you can imagine during all of these touches I'm describing, what's happening. Not only are they texting a thank you and whatever, they're taking photos. They're putting them on social media. They're tagging me. They're telling anyone who will listen. right? Like if you've ever checked into a hotel room before and walked up to your room and seen like, a bottle of champagne on ice or like some sort of amenity in the room that you weren't expecting, especially in the world of Instagram, many of us will walk out that door and then start a story and walk in as if it's the first time, right? Like, oh my God, what a surprise. Look at this. And share with the world how important we are. So if people are doing that in your real estate business, again, it's more and more discussion. And this is kind of the part where people go, holy shit, Jay, how much money were you spending at the time? You got to remember, this was over 10 years ago. Home prices were not what they are today. Okay.
Mhm.
And I was working primarily with first-time home buyers purchasing condos and things like $400,000 or $500,000 homes. For me, the formula was simple. It's like you're probably spending thousands of dollars into things right now that might be yielding zero results, maybe little results. For me, if I had a check for say $8,000. Would I spend 10% of that? Would I spend 800 of it on the client? Yeah, I would. And here's why. Because I get to keep 90%, depending on your cuts and all that stuff, right? Do the math yourself for what makes sense. But my point is, this is the best investment I could ever make. This person's literally never going to anyone else ever again. They're for sure not in that 12%. And they will tell anyone who will listen to hire me. And that's exactly what happened. So if you're evaluating costs for all this stuff, take a step back. It's part of the self-audit, it's part of the exercise. What are you spending on now? And how hard is it hitting? Because the cost might be the same, but the value could be incredibly different. The hospitality bucket is weighted far differently, and it's piercing through the noise. It's grabbing attention in a way that's so different. And then you never stop. So everything I just mentioned kind of happens before, during, and a little after the transaction. That creates the client experience. And we call those transaction packages, okay? Something to heighten the experience while it's happening. And then after, you want to stay top of mind. So every quarter, I would send every single one of my clients, everyone I've ever done a deal with, something. This wasn't something that had my logo on it. It didn't have my brand on it. It had nothing like that. It was just a thoughtful thing for them and their family. Like the first one I ever did was an umbrella, and it was during a particularly rainy winter, and it was went out to like 100 people, and it's like, hey Travis, here's an umbrella for you to keep in your car. Things are going to get pretty wet this winter. If you already have one, keep this in the trunk, and in case you see a pedestrian who needs one, you can be the hero. That's it from Jay, right? Something like that every quarter. And every time one of those things went out, what do you think happened? My phone is blowing up. Not only is it a thank you, but it's that law of reciprocity, right? So it's the, oh my God, we got the umbrella, Jay. That's so sweet. By the way, we've lived here for 2 years now. What's our home worth? By the way, we just were celebrating Memorial Day with my brother-in-law, and he wants to sell his house in Santa Ana. Do you service that area? By the way, what do you think of it? Like opening up all of these conversations that are triggering more and more and more revenue. Does that make sense? Not once am I having to call, say, hey, did you get the gift? Hey, can I get a referral? Literally not happen once. It just gravitates. People are just, they can't help themselves. They want to do it. And meanwhile, you're taking care of everyone. One of the most unanimous things I see out there is when people say, oh God, I'm terrible to keeping in touch with my clients. It's one of the most common things. It's very hard to do. Even if you knew how to do it, would you be able to do it? Do you have the resources to do it? Do you know what to send? It's tricky, right? So staying top of mind is critical. Every 3 months or so, hitting them with a surprise gift that matters. And then, of course, you want extra credit, one-off things. You find out that someone's sick at home, you send them like a one-click wellness gift. Never forget a birthday again. Someone comes down with an illness, you send them a get well gift. Things that are just super thoughtful that, again, nobody expects from a real estate agent. It makes you stand out so much. Um, so, long story short, what Client Giant does now is we automate this. So you can take everything I just mentioned, you could go copy and paste it if you have the resources to do so, or you can click a button and it gets done for you. So at this stage in the game, we've been around since 2018. We have countless testimonials and case studies. They're all on the website. You can ask Trisha for more if you need more. But long story short, this works. So I'll pause there for any questions, and then we can kind of go into how it all works from a logistics standpoint. Does anyone have any questions that they want to chime in on the chat?
If you do, you can go in the chat or raise your hand if you want to ask live and I'll unmute you. I like that you're equating this to the hospitality business, because that was in my first lifetime what I used to do. I was a general manager for corporate restaurants, and I've taken a lot of what I learned of how they treat, how a large corporate chain restaurant systemizes and treats every guest that walks in to that restaurant, and why they succeed at it, because they have we call it a server sequence, certain things that happen at each point during the visit to the restaurant, and then that right there is what keeps the client coming back to that restaurant, is because of that service and how we make them feel, as the restaurant. So that develops the regulars and everything like that. So I've taken a lot of that, of what I learned there, and I didn't implement it right away in my business because I was like, I'm done with the restaurant industry, I'm going into real estate. And over the years, I was like, you know what? These are very similar, actually, if you want to really succeed. So I like that that's how you're kind of meshing this concept together, because it makes total sense.
Yeah, the greatest way you can make an impact really is doing things outside the confines of what's expected. So, in the restaurant world, and this is mentioned in that book, Unreasonable Hospitality, one of the things 11 Madison Park did was when people went to dine there, they had to park at a meter. Well, that's annoying. That's like kind of an annoying thing to think about when you're dining. Is like, okay, do we have to feed the meter or whatever? So the staff would just go out and feed their meter for them. Feeding a meter has nothing to do with serving food, right? So it pierces you in a different way. We're like, oh my God, that's like so thoughtful, right? It goes above and beyond. So if we can incorporate touch points like that into your real estate business, where moving boxes show up unannounced and you're like, wow, like really? Like you just sent this to me? That's going to hit way harder than the $300 Lowe's gift card, right? Because it's actually illustrating thoughtfulness in a way different way. Trisha, will you drop your email in here and stuff? So for those of you on here, I'll kind of get into how this works too from a logistics standpoint. This is kind of the stuff that I mentioned. The transaction packages, this is everything that I was mentioning with the customer journey. So there's ranges here. Really, the way that you would operate with this when you're working with Client Giant is you would just decide which one you want on a per transaction basis, typically based on what commission you stand to earn, right? So like if you're selling a $2 million house, you're going to probably live in this world. If you're going to sell like a $500,000 condo, which doesn't even really exist anymore where we are, you'd probably be down here, right? Top of mind, hands down, the most popular plan that we offer. So this is kind of the best practice to get started. What I call it plugging your active leaks. What I mean by that is anyone and everyone you've ever done a deal with before needs to start hearing from you on a routine basis in a way that's authentic and real. If you've got your face plastered on stuff or market updates, that again, the market updates are great, right? I'm not knocking that at all. All I'm saying is that lives in a different world, right? If I get a market update from my agent, that's not thoughtful, right? What that is helpful, right? That's like, okay, this is knowledgeable. Like this is they're reinforcing that they are the authority in real estate, and that's a different type of value, right? So that don't stop that. But the hospitality piece, that's the part that has nothing to do with real estate. So plugging your active leaks means anyone and everyone you've ever done a deal with, is it conceivable that you could go on Facebook or Instagram tomorrow and find out that they listed their house with someone else? Is it conceivable? If so, you need to plug those leaks. No one can slip through the cracks any longer. And that's what top of mind is. Our program is called Top of Mind. It's quarterly, 4 gifts a year, done. The second is to deliver these 7-star experiences with new clients moving forward. That's the transaction packages. And then the celebrate moments that matter. That's if you want to put people on the birthday plan or do one-off situational gifts. Someone has a new baby, you press a button and it goes to them. So the way the Client Giant system works, we do literally everything for you. Okay. You don't choose the gift. You don't write the message. You don't choose the timing. You do nothing. We do it all for you while you have full visibility and control. So should you want to change a message or should you want to delay this gift because contingencies haven't been removed yet, you're getting notified in advance and you can do those things. But so many of our customers are doing, hundreds of deals at a time at volume that they can't check all these things, right? They either have their transaction coordinator manipulating things or they're just relying on the automation. But the best practice to get started, plug your active leads to top of mind, and then moving forward, transaction packages. Um, are the gifts and items we send throughout the transaction and all year, are they included in the program? So the transaction stuff would be the gold, platinum, diamond, titanium packages. That's the customer journey stuff. That's the client experience while it's happening. So that's finite. That's going to be between 6 and 12 touches, depending on the caliber you choose. It'll start right when the transaction begins, and it'll end 6 to 8 weeks later. At that point, you want top of mind to kick in. So when you buy a transaction package, you just say add top of mind, and then it'll kick in with the quarterly stuff after that. Great question. This is how pricing works, okay, for top of mind. Again, this is hands down our flagship product, the most popular. So when you see testimonials on their website and case studies and you see people ROI numbers, this is most likely what they're referring to, okay? Top of mind is the quarterly gifting thing. So I've highlighted kind of what the most popular tier is where most people start, and then they kind of grow from there. I will say, when you look at the case studies and the testimonials, a couple important things to mention. The first one is we didn't ask for any of them. So we didn't say like, hey, can you rate us? Hey, can you do this? It was literally people who would reach out and say, oh my God, you'll never believe like what I've done with your program. And then we say, hey, cool, are you cool publishing that? Great. Well, A, that's cool. But B, what's even cooler is that some of these testimonials and case studies are 4, 5, 6 years old, and those people are still using Client Giant and even at higher volume. So that's validation that this wasn't just like a one and done, hope it works, great, had some luck. It's like these people are now depending on it for their business and they're seeing extreme growth. Just for a basic math equation here, let's say that you started with 100 people, okay? Now, we allow two different pricing options. You can either go upfront, pay annually, and you see a little discount to equivalent to 2 months for free, or you can go monthly and cancel anytime you want. Okay. 85%-ish of the people go annual because it's a significant savings. So do the math real quick. If you were to put 100 of your clients on this, that's $11,900, right? 12 grand, call it. So the exercise here is, what is the average sale price for you in your market? What's probably more importantly, your average GCI, your commission on a deal? What's that number? I would imagine in Southern California, you're over the 12K mark, right? But whatever that number is, you want to back into how many referrals do I need to see out of top of mind for me to net positive? Okay. So in this example, Travis, do you know roughly what an average agent commission is in your office?
We are through a lot of regions, but our median price is probably up around like 900K.
Okay, so you're getting close to $21,000 at 2.5%, something like that.
Yeah.
So let's just call it after splits and taxes. Let's just call it 15 grand is like somewhat an agent's take home, let's say. So just over the 12K mark. So in that logic, you would need one referral out of 400 touches, right? Every client, all 100, get 4 gifts a year. And every single time, the timing is meant to be a pattern interrupter. It's not a Christmas gift. It's not a birthday gift. We call it the reverse ABCs of gifting, right? ABCs of gifting, anniversary, birthday, Christmas. Do it outside of those times when they least expect it. A random Tuesday in April, all of a sudden they just get this thing, right? That's what creates the pattern interrupter. If we can do that 400 times with people who already know you, like you, trust you, have done business with you, what is the reaction from 400 of those? So in this example, if 100 things went out tomorrow, ask yourself, based on your client database, of those 100 people, how many do you think are reacting, right? Is it 5? Is it 10? Is it 1? Let's just say it's 1 and say 99 of them don't do anything, right? Which would be crazy. That'd be 4 referrals a year. That's $60,000, okay, on an $11,900 investment. That's why when you start to see these case studies and testimonials, when they're like, oh, like 1,800% ROI, it sounds hyperbolic, it sounds crazy. It's really not crazy, especially in Southern California real estate. So the investment becomes nominal, becomes really negligible. Do you have basic CRM to keep in touch? So you can integrate with a CRM. You can integrate with Follow Up Boss, or there's a few people that will do things like that. Or you can kind of use Client Giant as your CRM, because the way this is going to work is you're just going to get Trisha a CSV file. So you say, here are the names and addresses. If you want phone numbers, doesn't matter. Just here it is. It all gets ingested. We'll activate whatever plans you want. And meanwhile, everyone's in there. So remember, you've got a payment method on file. We have their names, we have their addresses. We're choosing the gifts, we're writing the messages. So there's no input required from you any further. On a transaction package, there is. You'll give us 4 dates. When did it go under contract? When do contingencies get lifted? When does it close? When is possession? And then we orchestrate the whole thing through automation. But meanwhile, if you learn on Facebook or LinkedIn that a client had a baby, you literally log into your Client Giant account and press new baby gift, and it's done because we have all the other information. We know where they live. We know what we're going to send. We know what we're going to say. So lots of people use it as a CRM, and it's I almost think of it as like the first active CRM because most CRMs are only going to be as good as how much you use it, right? And this gets used for you. Good question. What other questions?
I don't have a question, but yeah, I can see this is, yeah, I guess you can call it an active CRM in the sense, if you're going to go and fork out this money for client acquisitions, but you already have a database, you know, this is this is like marketing. It's just a different avenue. You're investing into the people you've already worked with who know you, like you, trust you, instead of trying to acquire, which we all need to acquire new business as well, but you're acquiring new business from people who have already worked with you. And that's why referrals are so great. Um, and the CRM, CRMs are great, but it's not for everybody. So if you have one of those personalities where you're like, I can't manage the CRM, like I can't go in there daily and make all my notes and do all that stuff. I would say this is a pretty good alternative to that, where you can just say, yes, send, and then go about your day. And then this thing is going to happen. That makes that person that you have in your active CRM, which is Client Giant, feel a certain way and probably reach out and say hi. So, and that's what we really want is conversations. That's what the CRM is also meant to do, and the things that are going on in there. Um, but getting people to call you and thank you or start up a conversation. How's the kids? How's the house? You've been in there a couple of years, like you were saying, is, in my opinion, much more valuable. And so when you look at the cost breakdown of, let's just say the $150 for the year, well, you've already automated that client in a way for the next year for $150 instead of you're probably spending that a month at least just in Google pay-per-clicks to hopefully get somebody who might pick up their phone or at least give you a good phone number, right? So, and that's
You're in
in
the
1 month.
If you're in the right tier, it'd actually be even less than that. This is pretty much the most popular tier because we have people that are like, I'm gonna put 5 people on and try it out. Like, okay, I don't know if you're gonna see any luck with 5 people, right? You wouldn't send out 5 postcards, right? So you kind of want a healthy sample size to start seeing how
Mhm.
it works. But yeah, cost per unit goes down with volume. And the way most people do this once they get going, they don't even log into Client Giant anymore. It's like instead, what happens is their phone starts blowing up. They're like, "Oh man, a top of mind gift must have gone out," right? They're not even like paying attention to the notifications and things like that.
Yeah. So, and I can see how that works definitely. So, good product. Yeah. I'm glad you came
Yeah,
on.
thank you very much. We really appreciate you guys taking the time. Yes, Helen, that would be 119 per client if you go annual up front. But yeah, I would encourage you guys to ping Trisha if you have further questions. You can scan the QR code here. She's also dropped her email in the chat. You can, maybe discuss a little bit more about your business. What is it that you're looking to do this year? We're now at the halfway point in 2025, which is crazy. What was your goal for 2025? How are you tracking? What can we do to do something measurable to increase that? And the other thing to mention here is that this isn't like an SEO play where you're like, give it 6 months. You don't need to. It's gonna work right away. It's gonna happen right away because we're gonna plug your people in, activate top of mind, and inside of a few weeks, the first touch is gonna go out and you'll probably see a result right then and there. So ask Trisha for more details on that and let's get you guys started. And maybe in 6 months, people can share their success stories.
Yeah. What's your thought on someone, if they want to give this a try? I would think that trying one of the transactional pieces would be a good way to, I guess, tiptoe into this if you wanted to.
Yeah.
just to see like how the flow works, what your clients say, so on and so forth, because then I guess you can decide on, okay, well, they really enjoyed that. The cost wasn't that bad because, when it comes to client gifts, I don't give branded stuff. I usually would provide something that I knew that they needed at the end. And a lot of times I did like I would have someone go and clean their house that they were exiting
Yeah.
because I know when I move, that is the last thing I want to go do is
Yeah.
go clean my stupid house that I don't even care about anymore because I
Yep.
have a new one, you
Yep.
know?
Yeah.
So, and that probably it would give me the best like, oh my God, thank you. That was awesome. It's like we didn't even want to have to deal with that, and I would tell them like, a week or two in advance. I didn't tell them like up front so much, but I'd be like, hey, on closing day, I'm going to have them come over here for the walkthrough and all that and clean this out. So, and actually, this is probably a less expensive um, gift, if you want to call it that, than paying a cleaner to go clean a house because they're not cheap anymore. So,
Yeah, totally. At scale now, the cost on everything it's pretty hard to beat because we kind of pass that savings on to you guys since we have such high volume and everything.
yeah. So, all right, cool. Well, I really appreciate you coming on. If you don't have any other
Yeah.
questions, I guess we can kind of wrap up. So it's good
Yeah.
timing.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I encourage everyone to reach out to Trisha. And if you have any questions, and we look forward to working with you guys. Thanks for your time.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks a lot. Thanks for coming on. All
Bye.
right. Bye.